Hello, and welcome back to the Physiology of Singing. Yeah, and I know it's been forever since I posted anything, and I was like, we're gonna do vocal track stuff, it's gonna be so great, and that was like 3 weeks ago or something. Part of the delay was I realized I needed to sort of sit on it for a while and really think of like what I felt singers and voice teachers really need to get out of this kind of stuff versus, like where's the misconception, where does it get muddy and weird in people's minds? And then also this past week stuff happened in the United States and I needed to process that stuff. And there's going to be more stuff continuing to happen. So I just had to, gird my loins, as they say in Devil Wears Prada. Yeah. So, and this isn't really a political blog, but I need to take a little time, a little me time, and a little people time, just in general, you know what I'm saying? Okay, so, what I think, I've thought about it, and what I think I'm going to do is let's start out with a bit of this source filter theory stuff. Some of you might have heard of that before. It is the sort of conceptual model. It can also be a mathematical model, but it's the way people conceptualize the relationship of the voice to the vocal tract. Voice being the source, the sound source. Vocal tract being the filter, being the thing that shapes the sound into sound that sounds like you. And, and then in this analogy, the respiratory system is the power source. So respiratory is providing the air, the subglottal pressure, air pressure, to put the vocal folds into vibration and keep them in vibration as long as they're staying adducted. As long as the vocal folds are close together, the air is handling the vibration. It's not a muscle that opens and closes at vibration because vibration's too fast for that, okay? Essentially, ain't nobody's body got time to like open and close their voice to pull out like a high C, okay? Your muscles are just like, no, we're just gonna let the air do that, okay? All right, so physics, it's on our side. I think I went into a little bit of it with laryngeal function, so you can go back and review some of those videos. I believe the second video is where I talked about sound waves and how they're actually physical things. So there are some terms that I think, that singers use, vocal coaches use, and especially voice teachers tend to use these terms, and you'll see them in voice science, like articles from scientists. You'll hear voice therapists use these terms, and I think everybody uses them a little differently and means slightly different things when they say them, which is probably where it starts getting really confusing for people. So, those terms are things like resonance. How many singers, right? Resonance, resonance, resonance. Singer's formant. Formants in general. Harmonics, okay? Like all these different things we talk about. Pitch versus fundamental frequency. And we use a lot of those terms. And physicists also use those terms. And scientists use those terms. And therapists use those terms. And it just gets confusing, I think, because when a physicist is talking about this stuff, they're going to be talking at the physics level. They're going to be talking at a very specific level where, like, the meaning of the term is a very specific physical phenomena that has certain set of mathematical principles that describe it, okay? And those physicists, if they're worth their salt, they'll know that stuff. They'll know what those mathematical principles are. They'll know how to do the calculus, and all this stuff. Do singers need to know that level? Not really, no. But so as a voice therapist, or just even when you're dealing with clients who need to work on some speech things, like people with certain types of neurological conditions, like people with Parkinson's disease and stuff, sometimes you need to talk about acoustics and how your body, how we're trying to improve it so that hopefully their speech is more understood. And I might give them a very cursory, broad explanation of just generally, this is the source, this is the filter, and this is what it means. Show them, do a little show and tell, essentially. Like a little 5-minute, 10-minute demo of what the heck I'm talking about conceptually, and then they go, oh, okay, and then they know, that we're doing something that hopefully will make some sense and actually have some results. And I think singers usually need something in the middle, because especially singers and voice teachers, the ones who are really trying to improve themselves, who are trying to keep up on, you know, science and articles and stuff, it's like, if you go and you read any articles by people who are using these terms to mean the specific physical stuff, but you don't know what that specific definition is, it gets really confusing. And if your concept of like what a formant is a little too broad and a little inaccurate compared to what the physicists are actually doing when they study them, for example, it gets really confusing. I think that's where it just, like, everybody's like, and bye, checking out. Okay. So I'm hoping to bring them together a little bit. So let me start this first video by giving some definitions to these things. I'm not going to get into the mathematical stuff. Don't worry about it. We're not going to do like algebra or calculus or whatevs, okay? But, okay, but sound. When you talk about sound wave, okay, first thing I want you to keep in your mind, sound wave is an actual physical thing. It's actual, like, physical displacement of air molecules, okay? Just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not a physical thing that actually exists in the world, okay? It's a phenomena. It exists, okay? It's making your eardrum vibrate. That's sending the sound, you know, through to your inner ear, and then that's sending it up to your brain via the nervous system, and you hear it as sound, okay? So, yay! That's, you know, sound is an actual physical thing. First thing. It might sound obvious, this might go without saying, but I think sometimes it gets a little confusing, you know? You can't really see it. Like, how does it work? Sound waves, acoustics, different, this is also very important, different than aerodynamics, okay? So, sound wave, different thing than like wind or breezes, okay? You know, like when you hear a bus go by on the street, that is different than when you feel the rush of air that comes when that bus is going by, okay? So air molecules are both involved in those events, but they are different. Mathematically, they are different, okay? And I think this is pretty instinctual as a difference, but to drive the point home, let's say, okay, so you have a roommate, they're going to talk at you from across the room, or maybe it's a family member or whoever, somebody's talking at you from across the room. Do you either feel their breath or smell their breath from across the room? I hope the answer is no. If you smell it, they might need to see a doctor possibly about that, because like if they're 5 feet away and you smell their breath, that's pretty strong. But you probably don't feel it, right? I mean, if you put your hand really close, you could feel air escaping your mouth. As you talk, you can probably feel some of your exhale, right? You know? But the person across the room is not going to feel those air molecules moving. It's not going to feel the aerodynamics of your breath exhaling through your body from 5 feet away. They are going to hear your sound, hopefully, if you're talking to them. If you're, hey, what's up? You know, what do you want on your pizza? Come on, I asked you like a billion times ago, or whatever, minutes ago, a billion times ago. Oh my gosh, because that makes a lot of sense. Anyway, right, so you're going to hear the sound wave. So the sound wave, you know, this is the like visual that I feel works for me, and it might be a weird visual to people, but okay, imagine you got a lot of people all lined up waiting for a ride on an amusement park, okay, like pick any popular amusement park and there's a line, right? 3-hour-long line of people, okay? Now imagine like some kids run up, they're like, or teenagers or something, they're super excited, oh my god, I gotta get in line, and they run up to the back of the line and they kind of bump into the people that are in front of them. And then those people bump into the people in front of them. Like, and then of course they try to right themselves and go, oh, I'm so sorry, you know, whatever. And you end up with this like domino effect of people just bumping into the person in front of them and then, you know, up, you know, hopefully getting back on their feet and getting their balance and maintaining the distance they like to maintain, right? The body bubble, the space you want, okay? So that is essentially the pattern of a sound wave. Now, aerodynamics, or like wind, or like if the actual air molecules that you are disrupting with your voice were actually hitting the ear of the person, like if the very first air molecules are the ones that are actually traveling to your ear, that would be akin to like the kid ran up and ran into someone and then ended up in the front of the line. That doesn't make any sense, right? They got a lot of people. They couldn't just like teleport through the people to the front of the line by running into the person behind them or in front of them, right? I mean, unless they were Nightcrawler or something, because Nightcrawler can teleport. So he wouldn't even need to run into people. Okay. But anyway, so that doesn't make any instinctual sense that the kid would just end up in the front of the line, right? But what does make sense is that the displacement the kid created from that line would go down the line a bit, right? People would bump into other people as they go down. Everybody still keeps their same spot in line, hopefully. No one got pushed out, but there was a displacement, right? Everybody's happy little equilibrium of this is how far I am from the person in front of me in line, and I'm in line for this ride, that got disrupted. That's what a sound wave is, okay? It's the air molecules essentially getting bumped by other air molecules and then bumping into the air molecules in front of them and then like stepping back and being like, I want to find my nice little happy air molecule bubble where I like to be. I don't want to be touching my neighbor, essentially. Okay. Sound wave. Physical phenomenon. Booyah. Okay. So that's the first thing to keep in mind. That's your sound wave as a physical phenomena. Resonance is also a physical phenomenon. Okay. So, resonance is essentially the presence of standing waves. What the heck are standing waves? You can actually, Wikipedia has a pretty good article on them. You can also look at vibrating string. I think that's actually a Wikipedia article. Let me check. Yes, string vibration. If you Wikipedia string vibration, you can actually see a nice little visual, I'm looking at it right now, of vibration standing waves in a string, okay? And essentially, okay, standing wave is, I'm going to give you the Wikipedia thing here, but so it's a phenomenon that happens because, let's see here, actually I'm going to do the vibrating string one, I think, because, oh gosh, I found it. Where was it? All right. So I'm trying to think of how to really explain the standing waves to be like a thing that makes any kind of sense to people. But essentially, if you have a wave that propagates down in the medium, like the string, it's going to hit a boundary, right? And it's going to reflect back, okay? So it's literally a reflection back. And if it reflects back at the right point in that wave, okay, like at the right distance, for example, from where it originated, then it sums with the vibration that's currently going on, and you end up with bigger waves, more vibration, more displacement. And resonance, brilliant, okay? And that is a physical thing, and it's always there. If you're voicing, you have resonance happening on your vocal folds. Your vocal folds are acting like strings. They're resonating like that. And you have resonance happening in your filter. You have standing waves occurring. Because if you didn't, you wouldn't hear the voice and the speech and all that stuff. So singing and resonance is not about creating resonance. It's about changing your resonance. It's about creating the desired resonance for the particular sound you want as a singer. If you're an impersonator, it would be about changing your resonance to hopefully get closer to the person you're impersonating. If you were a beatboxer, similar idea. You got to change that resonance to actually work with your beatboxing, okay? If you were a ventriloquist, you got to change your resonance that hopefully people understand your speech without you moving your lips. It's different ways of playing with resonance and shapes, essentially the shape of the filter, especially for that stuff. Okay, so sound is a physical phenomenon, resonance is a physical phenomenon. That means everything else that falls out of this is actually like real physical stuff we're going to talk about. And I think I'm going to pause here so that I don't just keep going on and on and on. But that was your basic sound, resonance. Next, I want to talk about harmonics and formants to try to clear that up a little bit. Let's see if I can keep going. But harmonics, oh, actually I can't because I'm starting to run out of space on my computer. Okay, I'm going to pause there and we'll do harmonics and formants in the next video. All right, see you guys there. Bye.